Welcome to the Monstergarden. Today we find out how the country of Varus turned man into beast, and those beasts into dancers? Yes, today we talk about the graceful pillarmen turned war dancers that soaked the battlefield in crimson with their elegant yet deadly performances. But first, let's talk about designing them. The main focus of their design, if we don't take into consideration their clothing, is their anatomy. They are physical mages focused on using magic to enhance their physical strength and agility. But how does that affect your body? I started off by taking inspiration from bodybuilders and the side effects of performance-enhancing drugs. Stretch marks like the skin couldn't keep up with the growth of muscle, large veins running down the arms, hair loss, and looking twice your age. And roid rage, because if your magic is all based on strength and aggression, it surely will have an effect on your temperament. Beyond that, I thought about somehow incorporating the geometric look that magic imposes on things into their muscles, like the same square pattern as the red root in the trenches. Other geometric shapes could have worked, but anything more complicated than squares would have given me a headache. And I think those squares definitely gave them a unique look. But these war dancers are not just physical mages. They also have body modifications on top of their already magically enhanced frames. Additional muscle and organs grafted onto them and strengthened tendons and bone. And on top of all that, a nice cocktail of drugs before sending them off into the war. But why do they wear what looks like a ceremonial garb into battle? And why are they called war dancers? Well, it all started with the Pillarmen, the beacons of hope in Varus's religion called Xenophism. There are these giant pillars believed to hold up the heavens called the World Pillars, and Xenophism believes that these pillars are a trial by the gods to allow humans to ascend to heaven. So they started climbing them. These climbers, known as the Pillarmen, started being revered and trained to be the best they can be, but also to be beacons of humanity's culture, grace, and beauty. Because if they were to reach heaven, Xenophism believes they should present only the peak of humanity to the gods. Now, that's how it started. But as the war waged on and Varus's desperation to reach salvation grew ever more, they started to modify these Pillarmen. First training them in physical magic, but eventually twisting their bodies with augmentation and magical enhancements, turning them into beasts. Though Varus still desperately tries to cling on to the elegant and beautiful facade, dressing them in ever more elaborate and decadent ceremonial attire, and parading them around the capital in shows of grandeur, and most might yet still believe in the beauty of the Pillarmen, but some whispers of doubt have crept through in hushed conversations. If we truly reach the heavens one day, what will the gods think of what we've done to their creations? Now, this process of creating Pillarmen isn't perfect. Accidents happen. Sometimes Pillarmen fall and get injured, or go mad through the unimaginably painful procedure. What happens to them? Such a waste it would be for them to just retire. They're still incredibly strong, enhanced humans, and in the end, still property of the high churches. And it would be such an embarrassment for the churches to admit that their beacons of hope just failed? Of course not. There are no Pillarmen that fail, the high churches say. These select few Pillarmen have chosen to forego their duties of reaching the heavens, for they have been granted boons by the gods, strength and zeal, and the overwhelming urge to fight in the war. For how will Varus reach salvation if there is no Varus left to speak of? And so be it. The fallen Pillarmen were sent to war, drugged to blind them of their pain and fill their minds with rage. For the high churches are petty, and force these fallen, these failed Pillarmen into armors and masks with the visages of monsters and beasts, ugly tusked things like those war boars from Ram. But you can only send crazed lunatics in humiliating costumes into the war for so long until your people start questioning if what you said was true. soldiers write back. We've been granted aid from the high churches in the form of their pillarmen, but these things don't seem like warriors of the gods to me, more like abominations. Though their effectiveness cannot be denied, we were using them to break enemy formations so we could go in and clean up the rest, though there wasn't much left to clean up. The high churches, hearing of this growing suspicion, commissioned religious plays to be performed around Varus, plays depicting the elegant pillarmen ascending their pillars, only to be overcome with determination to fight in the war and save Varus from the clutches of Yorm. These plays depicted the fallen pillarmen in a different light, elegant yet brutal, stomping the ground and swinging their weapons still with dance-like grace. These plays were highly successful and helped quell the concern of the people, but also the effectiveness of the fallen pillarmen in the war made it so the high churches realized if the pillarmen meant to climb were so effective, why don't we make pillarmen specifically designed for war? But not just mindless beast, but tempered, with discipline and training to be as elegant yet brutal as the performances that once depicted them. For the previously known as fallen pillarmen, now called war dancers, were trained as such, believing themselves to be a part of a great play in front of the gods, and their stage is the battlefield, not only to be more effective, but also to save face. Nowadays, before war dancers are sent out to battle, they perform in stadiums to show their prowess before the people of Varus. War boars and captive Rom prisoners sent in to face them for them to dismantle with brutal elegance, to the delight of the Varusian people. Their ornate decorated clothes that could rival those of the true pillarmen still have beastly masks to pay homage to those first wretched failures. The high churches are indeed very petty. Honestly, I'm quite happy with what I wrote up. It's quite a bit more substantial than the lore dumps I normally do, but I think it's interesting enough to warrant the length. Tell me what you think about it. Anyway, to finish off my thoughts about the design, when it came to their outfits, I took heavy inspiration from Thai Khon performances, from their outfits and masks to their mannerisms, and also the giant statues you often see in front of Thai temples. Then basically just gave them a bunch of grenade pouches because I imagined them to be really good at throwing things, but also their temperament wouldn't really allow them to use firearms. Not like they need one. Lastly, the only thing I don't like about the design is that maybe I took a bit too much inspiration from Thai culture, but I mean, I can't help it. It's an awesome reference, but I'm gonna try and mix in some other things in the future. Either way, I still think I'm very happy with how the final piece came out and the mood that it sets. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you to my patrons for feeding me chicken, yum yum, and see you in the next one.